Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome to the Card Closet. Glad to have you here again. Today I'm going to talk a little bit more about this Jim Pearsall 1954 Bowman that I picked up from Greg Morris. I already showed the card in an earlier video with the package that I received from them. This card, interestingly enough, was labeled minimum size. That's a new term to me. So I decided that I would pick this card up. I got it for a price that I wanted to pay. And probably the reason I was able to get it for the price I wanted to pay was because it was labeled minimum size. I wanted to get one of these in my hand and put it up next to other 54 Bowmans and see exactly what that means. My gut feel was that it means it's trimmed. That was my thought going into this. But I've seen other cards that Greg Morris lists as trimmed. But this was not listed as trimmed. It was listed as minimum size. So let's take a look and let's see if we can figure out what minimum size means. So I'm going to put it next to another card from the same set. And as you can see, the regular card is a little bit taller than the quote-unquote minimum size card. Let's try it with a couple more just to prove the point here. Once again, the card on the right is just a little bit taller than the card on the left. What about a third card? Same thing. So minimum size, as suspected, does mean shorter. What about width-wise? It's just a sliver narrower than a regular size 54 Bowman as well. So what does that tell us about this guy? What's his history? I wish he could tell us. Was he trimmed? Did somebody come along and try to straighten out a rough edge? Did somebody think they were increasing the value of this card by trimming it? Or was it a manufacturer error? You know, in 1954, these things are running through what we would consider primitive machines, being cut by some blade of some kind. Could it be that some batches just got off a little bit? I did some research online, and there's a lot of different thoughts on trimmed versus minimum size. PSA was quoted by a gentleman who has an online presence as having told him that PSA would grade a card minimum size if it was in 1/32 of an inch of the default size of a card. Anything more than that would be considered trimmed. Other people online, of course, disagree with that. But take a look at the difference between these two cards. Would anybody purposely trim it that amount and really change the card that much by trimming that little amount there? Usually if you've got things you want to hide, I've got to think you've got to trim in farther than that. So my gut tells me this is a manufacturer's problem. It just got cut too small in manufacturing. I suppose it could have been trimmed by somebody. I just don't see, that they gained very much by doing that. They did say, I found a site that talks about this, they did say you can tell by looking at the edge that the under a microscope, you can look at the edge of a trimmed card, and the grain would be different than the cross-section of a regular card that wasn't trimmed. But, of course, I haven't got a microscope, and I can't tell if there's a grain difference between these two or not. It's not really focusing that well. But either way, I'm happy to get the Jimmy Pearsall card in the collection. It was the last 1954 Red Sox player that I needed. So while I've got them out, let me show you my 1954 Red Sox team set. The ones that were not in the top set were this Jim Pearsall, Hoot Evers here, Willard Nixon, Sammy White, the baseball player, George Kell, Dick Gernert, Bill Goodman, and Del Wilbur. The only way to get cards of these 8 players in 1954 was to get the Bowman version. The rest of them are in the top set. So I'll run through the top set here for you. Starting out with Jackie Jensen, Bill Consolo, Dick Brodowski, Coach Del Baker, Leo Coelho, Sid Hudson, Hal Brown, and Milt Bowling. Bill Worley, Mel Parnell, always a fun guy to get in a Red Sox card. Buster Mills, Ellis Kinder, Ted Lepsio, Carl Olson, Paul Schreiber, and of course Ted Williams. So this Ted Williams card is card number 1 in the top set, 1954. A little bit off condition, but a beautiful card. The backs of the 1954 Topps cards are kind of fun. They're Christmas colored, but they have the previous season stats as well as some cartoons on each one. Wish I could focus a little better for you. Not going to work. So Ted Williams was actually in this set twice. This is his card number 250 from that same year. 2 Ted Williams cards. Interestingly enough, the first card in the set and the last card in the set. So if you've heard the phrase, the first shall be last and the last shall be first, that definitely applies to Ted Williams in this set. He's the first card and he's the last card. So I hope you enjoyed this comparison of what a minimum size card is. If you came to the same conclusion as me or a different conclusion upon seeing the cards next to each other, I'd sure appreciate your feedback. And also hope you enjoyed the 1954 Red Sox team set. There are no Red Sox players on cards in 1954 other than what I just showed you. So that year is complete. All right, thanks again everybody for joining me. Have a great rest of your Wednesday night. And we'll talk to you again soon. Take care. Bye.